We'll probably find out, but I'm like, it's a citizen.
You need to.
Hello.
And you can't really like it.
Turn it on.
It is now 4 p.m. I would like to call the Community Investment Committee to order. Clerk Geraldo, will you please call the roll?
Yes, but prior to that, I would like to make some announcements regarding our committee meeting.
No problem.
Good afternoon, members of the public. For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default. To maintain good audio quality for council members and yourself. If you would like to speak during the meeting, during the public portion, please submit your request in the chat. Directions to do so will soon be listed in the chat. We ask that you provide your full name and address, as those are required for all speakers at in-person council meetings. I will now call the roll. Committee Member Gooden Rogers. Committee Member Bolden Simpson.
Present.
Committee Vice Chair White.
Present.
Committee Chair Warner.
He is sick.
I believe he was going to join us virtually.
He'll be joining us virtually soon. We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum and we'll now go. I would ask Clerk Toronto if you would please give a second reading to Bill 2509. It's a confirming resolution.
Confirming resolution, vacant building tax abatement for 635 South Main Street.
Thank you. Do we have a presenter? State
Yes.
the name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, committee members. Joe Molnar, Assistant Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Before you today is the confirming resolution for the vacant building tax abatement of 635 South Main Street, known as the Studebaker Administration Building. I know that the committee saw this 2 weeks ago, so I'll be a little briefer this time. The property is located on the south edge of downtown, and was the former headquarters of the Studebaker Studebaker Automobile Company. Studebaker Admin QOZB LLC recently purchased the building to stabilize it. It has been vacant for approximately 2 decades. The 150,000 square foot building was constructed to be the headquarters of Studebaker in the early 20th century. However, the building in the current state is under serious distress in the form of needing a new roof, needing many new windows, and other initiatives to make the building watertight again. The primary objective of the project is to stabilize the deteriorating building, to preserve it and position it for future redevelopment, which would include both structural stabilization and environmental remediation. The total investment made for this project would be approximately $920,000. Because this is just the vacant building tax abatement portion, this would just be vacating a portion of taxes for the next 2 years to help the bottom line of stabilizing the building. The total estimated taxes abated would be a little over 20,000, with paid a little over 10,000. The petitioner is online as well, Kevin Smith, if you have any questions for him, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions at this point? If not, we go and ask the petitioner if you have any questions from the petitioner who's online. No questions from committee members? Committee member
Thank you.
Simpson Bolden?
Oh,
Mm-hmm,
Did you say Cass?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
You have a question? Mhm.
Yes, I did have a question for the petitioner. I know he talked a little bit about it. What are the plans? I know this is just to stabilize it. And what are the plans for future use? If we could go a little bit more in depth.
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
Mr. Smith, can you please state your name and address,
Oh.
please?
You bet. It's Kevin Smith at 506 West South Street, South Bend. And the purpose is that I've been studying and frankly caring for the building for 6-7 years. The intention is to ensure that it has the historic elements are retained, and whatever use it becomes, it reflects the intention of the original building. And we're intending to take down some of the misguided developments when it was School City, opening up they have a monitor roof that'll be reestablished, and so a lot of the grandeur will be restored. What we think use it could originally, it was going to be the Prescaney headquarters, which would have been an ideal single use structure, but that ended up going to Ignition Park, so we'd be open to somebody that wanted to use it for single function like that. But we understand in this marketplace, it may be commercial on the first floor. It could potentially be residential on the upper floors. So the thought process is stabilize it. I have a full set of drawings already from Keel and Associates. And so we would watch, stabilize it, clean it up, finalize the MEP design, and then really pay attention to what's going on in the baseball stadium and the Cubs area and the surrounding to see what the highest and best use would be in, say, 2 years. Wait till the area gains momentum, and then we could position it for the right use.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any council members that may have any questions regarding Bill 2509? Seeing none, we go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone wishing to speak in support of Bill 25-09?
I do not see any members from the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor or in opposition of the bill.
Thank you. Are there any individuals wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see any members of the public wishing to speak in opposition in person or online.
Thank you. The public hearing portion is now closed. Council members or committee members, do you have any closing comments you would like to make? Seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 25-09.
Move to send Bill 2509 to the whole committee with
Hmm.
favorable, no,
Mhm.
council with a favorable recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Clerk Toronto, will you please call the roll?
Committee Member Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner. Committee Chair Warner, I can see that you unmuted yourself, but unable to hear you.
You think you may can put it in the chat?
have 3 ayes right now.
Okay. So,
Pending,
okay.
Committee Chair Warner.
Mm-hmm. So we have 3 ayes, including
3 ayes.
myself.
Yes.
Well, we'll move forward with the 3 ayes. Hopefully that Chair Warner will be able to join us virtually and we'll be able to make sure, because I know he definitely supports, this particular bill as well as others that will be coming before the committee.
He said he will log out and try again.
Come back in. Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair White, would you like to move to the next bill or would you like to wait for?
We can move
Chair
to the
Warner.
next bills and then we'll circle back and because I definitely would like to make sure that Chair Warner is able to cast his vote. And so we'll just circle back. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I would now like to entertain a motion to hear Bill 25-10, 25-11 for purpose of the public hearing only.
So moved. So second.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded. Clerk Toronto, would you please call the roll?
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner is trying to log back in. We have 3 ayes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, okay. Circle back to, okay. Well, we'll move ahead. He is saying aye, but we can't hear him. You think he could put it in the chat?
Yes, I
Mhm.
can. I can contact him to make.
Yeah,
sure he
ask
puts it
them,
in
then
the
we'll
chat.
circle back as well, but we'll continue with, Bill 25-10. Clerk Torado, would you please give this bill a second reading?
Bill number 2510, confirming resolution, real property tax abatement for 445 North Sheridan Street. Bill number 2511, confirming resolution, personal property tax abatement for 445 North Sheridan Street.
Thank you so much. We do have a presenter. Will you please state your name and home address?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Mark Beemendorfer, Manager of Business Development with offices on the 14th floor of this building. Bill 2510 is an 8-year real property tax abatement for property located at 445 North Sheridan, and Bill 2511, as mentioned, is a 5-year personal property tax abatement for equipment to be installed at the same location. Since we reviewed the underlying project with the declaratory resolutions in the last meeting, I'll just provide a brief overview of the confirming resolutions up for consideration today. Essentially, both of these bills are to support an expansion by GTA Containers, a local South Bend manufacturer that has operated since 1988 and currently has 143 full-time employees. This expansion will help to position GTA Containers to respond to market shifts and remain competitive in their industry. So this expansion requires multiple investments by the companies, including $8.8 million to develop a new 112,000 square foot facility. Additionally, there will be an investment of $2.3 million for new equipment. To develop this new facility, GTA Containers has partnered with GLC Sheridan, and GLC Sheridan will lease the to-be developed facility to GTA Containers through a triple net lease, meaning that GTA will be the primary beneficiary of the proposed abatements. So after the expansion is completed, GTA Containers expects to hire an additional 15 employees by the end of 2027. So now, obviously, these business investments will result in a corresponding increase to the tax base. Regarding the real property, the current taxes are a little under $12,000 annually. This investment will increase the annual taxes to an estimated $192,000 annually. Based on this increase, the proposed 8-year abatement would result in abating $704,000 while accruing $833,000 in tax dollars during that time period. Regarding the personal property, the investment is expected to generate an additional $184,000 in taxes over the 5-year period. Of this, $131,000 will be abated and $53,000 accrued. So now the following slides provide a little bit more of a detailed breakdown on the annual impact of the taxes and the abatement. It also, this one reports a forward-looking view of the tax impact if the project proceeds as planned or does not, with both scenarios being shown on the right-hand side. So to wrap here, happy to answer any questions. Should mention that the petitioner is Isaac Hall, a development associate at Great Lakes Capital, and Igor Popov, a CTO of GTA Containers, are also here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions regarding Bill 2510, 2511? Council members, any questions that you might have? Seeing none, then we'll ask the petitioners to come up if you would want to share some information regarding Bill 2510 and 2511. State your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. Isaac Hall with Great Lakes Capital, located at 7410 Aspect Drive in Granger, Indiana. Thank you, Mark, for the presentation. I think you really hit the high points here. This investment in the LaSalle Park neighborhood will not only be an asset to the individual neighborhood, but also to South Bend as a whole. We are happy to partner with another local South Bend business to help them grow and retain jobs here in the community. So happy to answer any questions about the investment side. And also Igor Popov,
Okay, thank you.
sorry.
No
C-
problem.
Okay.
Been fine.
Go ahead.
Igor Popov, CEO of GTA Containers at 4201 Linden Avenue in South Bend. I think the numbers have been spelled out. That's usually what I deal with. There's also the softer side here. We've got a great team of employees at GTA spread out over 2 buildings. We'd like to add a 3rd building on the same campus. And again, I'm available for any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
nice hearing your
Hey.
voice.
That's my only question. I had to switch to my phone. I couldn't get on my laptop, but thank you.
Okay, thank you as well. We'll now move to the public hearing portion. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Bill 25-10?
I do not see any members of the public or online wishing to speak in favor.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Thank you. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Bill 25-11? You gave me for 25-10, but we have 25-11.
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in support of the bill.
Thank you. Then the public hearing portion is closed. I'm going to circle back to our committee or council members regarding Bill 25-10. Are there any comments you would like to make?
Thank you for investing.
Council President Lee?
Yes. Thank you for investing in the second district. And also, I think myself and Councilwoman Ophelia Gooden Rogers and any other council members would love to come and take a tour and see the facility and actually get our eyes to be able to see where it's at physically and what you guys do. So
We'd love to host you.
thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that there's no more comments, would like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 25-10.
I move that, Bill 25-10 be recommend to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second,
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Clerk Toronto, would you please call the roll?
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye,
Committee Chair Warner,
aye.
4 ayes.
thank you. Would now like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 25-11.
I move to send Bill 2511 to the whole council with a favorable recommendation.
Second,
We have a motion been seconded. Clerk Toronto, will you please call the roll?
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye,
Committee Chair Warner,
aye.
4 ayes.
thank you. These 2 bills will be sent to the committee of whole with a favorable recommendation. We need to circle back to Bill 2509. I believe we had a motion and was seconded, but I need to call the roll in terms of the vote. A roll call for that, Clerk Toronto.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
I'm sorry, I missed what we were voting on.
On the first bill, 2509.
Oh, we're doing it over again. Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay. Motion carries. This bill will be sent to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. Will now,
Full council.
full council, I'm sorry. We'll now turn to Bill 25-12. Clerk Toronto, will you give that a second reading, please?
Resolution approving a certain declaratory resolution for the River West Development Area adopted by the South Bend Redevelopment Commission.
Thank you. We do have a presenter. You state your name and your address, please.
Good afternoon, committee members. Caleb Bauer, Executive Director of Community Investment with offices on the 14th floor of this building. Before you today is a resolution which would amend the boundaries of the River West Development Area and create a new tax increment financing allocation area for the purposes of supporting the Riverwalk development. I'm going to walk through first just a high-level summary of the development itself and items that have already come before the Redevelopment Commission, and then I'll speak more specifically to the resolution before you today. So the Redevelopment Commission already considered a development agreement for the Riverwalk, which is an agreement between the commission and the J.C. Hart Company, an Indiana-based development firm, for a new multifamily development on the riverfront, 291 market rate apartment units and a 398 space parking garage that is incorporated within the development. Seems my slides are not advancing here. There we go. Sorry about that. It would involve a minimum of $61.5 million in private investment. Infrastructure work would be facilitated by the city via a reimbursement of a grant from the READY 2.0 program awarded by the South Bend Elkhart Regional Development Authority. Here's an overview showing at a high level what the development itself would look like. I'll show a map here momentarily to locate you, but this is on the southern half of the parcel that comprise Crow's headquarters in downtown South Bend. That parcel has been subdivided, and so now it's two separate parcels. The northernmost Crow building will remain in place, and then this development would be constructed after demolition of the southernmost of the two Crow buildings. You can see here on the map the parcels that we're describing, and then here highlighted in yellow, the parcel being discussed today. I will note an administrative lot line adjustment is occurring that will slightly amend the boundaries of this parcel, not substantially so, but you'll note the footprint of the development does expand slightly to the west from this current parcel line shown on the geographic information system. Shown here, this is the development footprint shown within a broader conceptual plan, but it will include a new street connection that connects to both Jefferson Boulevard and an extension of Western Avenue that would be incorporated into this broader plan. Here are some renderings showing what the development itself would look like. See if I can get those to show up. There we go. And so it would have the E-shaped building would be fronting the river. Behind it to the west would be a second building, which would have a wrapped parking garage, which means that the garage itself is not visible from the street level. It's surrounded by apartment units. A similar analog to this would be the Eddy Street Commons parking garage. You can't actually see the garage from the street. You just see the entrances and exits. Otherwise, housing units surround it. And so that would be the same case with this garage. So today we're before you for the consideration of the declaratory resolution, which would be carving out the tax increment financing allocation area from the River West development area and creating a new allocation area that just encompasses this one parcel. We would then have to return to you for bond ordinances related to the overall incentive, and I'll explain how that is structured. But I just wanted to show you where we are in the overall approval process. This is the first action being considered by the council. If you were to approve this resolution, we would return to the council related to the bond ordinance itself. So as I mentioned, two buildings, 291 apartments, and a 398 space structured garage. What the incentive being proposed from the city is what's called a developer-backed bond. And so what that is, this is a novel incentive for our municipality. Other municipalities in Indiana frequently use tax increment financing in this way. But what it essentially is we would be issuing bonds using the future property tax increment payments from the developer to pay the debt service on those bonds. The developer will also guarantee debt service payments on those bonds, meaning there is not a case where the city would be on the hook for those payments if the property taxes were lower than our estimations. So we believe this is an effective tool for unlocking upfront capital that can go into the project, primarily in assisting with the structured garage development. And as I mentioned, it does not carry any risk towards the city in case of default. The developer takes on that risk. It also does not impact the city's credit rating. As far as jobs impact, there would be 6 permanent full-time jobs and then more than 200 temporary construction jobs. This is pretty standard with a multifamily apartment development. You're not going to see a huge amount of permanent jobs. Those are going to be leasing office staff and maintenance staff, but we would see significant impact from the construction activity. So as I mentioned, this is project-based TIF. We're looking to use the new allocation area that encompasses just this parcel to finance the bond issuance. And so this is a chart the state of Indiana shares regularly on tax increment financing. As just a refresher, you could see on the bottom left would be year 0 of a 25-year commercial tax increment financing allocation area, which is what we're proposing be established. And so at that year 0 mark, we're establishing a new base assessed value. That base assessed value will continue to go to the taxing jurisdictions that it typically would, a breakdown between local government, schools, the library, things like that. Then above that, as we've established that base assessed value, any new assessed value growth in the property tax assessed value would be captured within the tax increment financing area. From that incremental assessed value and the tax revenue associated with it, that is where 90% would be pledged over the 25-year period to pay the debt service on the bonds. And then 6% as well would be pledged until it reaches a certain amount. That 6% was a negotiated term that allows for the developer to absorb some of Crow's parking needs into the structured garage. So instead of all of Crow's employees parking on large surface lots, they would incorporate a portion of those into the structured garage to minimize the amount of surface parking necessary. So as I mentioned, any remaining TIF, so excess above the debt service obligations, and then the remaining percentages not allocated for debt service would remain in control of the redevelopment commission. They would have to be used as other tax increment financing funds have to be used to benefit the district itself. And so we would look to use those as for infrastructure projects, things like that in this allocation area. So a smaller footprint allocation area than we're typically looking at with the larger areas that exist within the city. So I'll walk you through overall project budget. As I mentioned, private investment commitment is $61.5 million. We are seeking authorization through the bond ordinance that would come to council later, seeking authorization for a bond that would generate net proceeds not to exceed $17 million. We don't believe that would actually be the amount when we head to bond closing. You'll recall that typically when we do bring bond ordinances before you, we set the maximum amount greater than what we expect to issue. And so we would expect it to generate roughly $14.8 million in gross proceeds. And then 11.9 in net proceeds. As I mentioned, 90% of that incremental revenue will be pledged to debt service, and additional 6% would be pledged up to that 1.34 million repayment amount. As far as breakdown, private investment breakdown, you could see the lion's share of the development costs are in the buildings themselves, but the structured parking garage is at roughly $10 million. And that really is the area in which this incentive is being focused. Structured parking in our marketplace is not something that a developer can typically absorb into the overall costs of a development. even in larger cities, structured parking is still challenging to finance and challenging to have parking fees that can ultimately cover the cost of its construction and operation. So that really is the purpose of the incentive being proposed here. A small portion of that incentive then would offset some of the other development costs, but really it's the structured parking. And I think it's important to note that really accomplishes strategic priorities for the city, which is we're hoping to return to a more dense downtown, a downtown that is accessible for all users. And that involves, in a lot of cases, looking at structured parking to get us to the density that can add the vibrancy to our downtown that we're all hoping to see. Overall project timeline, I'll hurry up if.
I'm over my time a little bit.
Oh,
but
okay, I'm sorry
please,
about
no
that.
problem.
We're in the approval phase here. If you were to approve this resolution, we'd come back for the bond ordinances themselves, but would look to have all the approvals completed by the end of March. The developer would then move forward with closing on the property. We'd look to close on the bond in the middle of this year. And then demolition of the building and infrastructure preliminary work would begin later this year. So we're looking at a pretty quick commencement time period. We would look at construction completion by the end of 2028. So as I mentioned, before you today is not the actual bond ordinance, it's just the resolution establishing the allocation area, but I thought it would be helpful to articulate the full scope of what's being proposed, as this is the first approval that would come before you, but there would be another in the form of that bond ordinance itself. With that, I do have a short 2 slides from J.C. Hart just introducing themselves. This is their first project proposed in South Bend. And Todd May and Chandler Sturgis are here from J.C. Hart. It's just 2 slides from them, and then we'll kick it back to you all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Todd May, J.C. Hart Company, office at 805 City Center Drive, Carmel, Indiana. I promise I'll be very brief. We are very excited about this opportunity. I am joined with me here personally with Chandler Sturgis, and we do have some people online as well. But we should be able to answer any questions that you might have. Since it is our first project in South Bend, we thought it'd be really good for you just to understand a little bit more about us. As Caleb mentioned, we are Indiana-based. The majority of our projects over the years since 1976 is in central Indiana. We've been named a best place to work 12 times, hopefully 13 this year. We're really proud of that fact. We've won numerous awards, numerous architectural awards, property management awards. We're getting close to 7,000 units under management. We do have about 1,500 or so in construction currently. Thought we'd show just a few recent projects that we've completed that will be similar in terms of architectural style and just the quality. They're all obviously different. We take a lot of pride in coming up with one-of-a-kind designs. We never replicate the same project from one place to the other. The first up in the left-hand corner, Penrose on Mass, is in downtown Indianapolis, 236 units. It does have a garage on the bottom floors and underground there. On the top right is called Continuum. That's in West Lafayette, Indiana. Down the lower left, Monon Square. We just started construction on that. That's in the Midtown area of Carmel. And then East Bank in downtown Noblesville, Indiana. That's on the river and they're downtown. All of these have something to come. They were all private partnerships that have been very successful. So we are looking forward to that as well. So during the EDC, you had heard Caleb mention the economic impact. We thought it was important, not only just the impact of the construction itself, which is very impactful over a 3-year period, but I think the real economic impact is having 291 units, 291 households. If you assumed an average of $75,000 household income per household, you're looking at nearly $22 million in total household income for the entire project. And if you assume, say, 25% of that is a little more discretionary for services, entertainment, food, you're talking $5 to $6 million in buying power concentrated in that area. So, and of course, with that, there'd be over $350,000 in local income taxes. And so there's a significant impact, even though it's not a huge job driver. We do look at this project as a catalyst, not just for all the other restaurants and shops in downtown, but to help grow the Riverwalk project. That's going to be super exciting to be a part of, and really kickstart that with that economic impact of having this many households in this area. Chandler's here to discuss any other questions you might have with the project, but given that we're running a little over, happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you for your presentation. Committee members, do you have any questions?
I will just interject briefly. We also have Matt Eckerly from Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors on this project online, and Phil Facenda from Barnes and Thornburg. Barnes and Thornburg is the city's bond counsel on this project. Phil is not able to make it this evening, so if there were specific questions for Barnes and Thornburg, if possible to ask those here during committee, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members? Seeing none. Council members, ask that you ask one or two, and then hopefully this evening we can complete, the questions. I want to make sure that we can move to public, hearing as well. Councilwoman Rachel Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. The question I had was, I was wondering if you could share a little bit about examples of other project-based TIFs that we've done in the past in the city. I know that was a constructive conversation that we had in the redevelopment commission that would be useful here.
So generally, this is a new format for the city of South Bend as far as how we utilize tax increment financing. This really was, in many ways, the original use of tax increment financing, where you're looking at one project being contained within an allocation area. And so in the city of South Bend, there really have not been any analogs to this in recent memory. The Douglas Road tax increment financing allocation area, which is a small one on the far northeast side of town, was specifically related to private investments happening in that area. So there were multiple property owners though. So that would be probably the closest. What's nice about this format is it doesn't impact the city's credit rating, as I mentioned. The developer ultimately carries the risk, and the city doesn't need to come up with upfront TIF revenues to appropriate for this incentive to be deployed. So really, it's something that can scale with the size of investments as we're looking at bigger projects. It's something that when we're looking at our traditional larger footprint TIF districts, they are bound really by the revenue that's on hand and available to be appropriated, versus a financing like this is able to scale and support a project. This is very common in other cities in Indiana. Indianapolis, for example, has dozens of allocation areas tied to specific projects. A lot of central Indiana communities, this is really the standard way that they use tax increment financing. So South Bend really, in a lot of ways, is unique in the way we have used it. And this is getting back to a little bit more of what's seen more frequently around the state. But I'll let Phil speak to that if you want to give some context, Phil.
Phil Facenda from Barnes and Thornburg, 201 South Main. I will just add to what Caleb said. This is a common structure of financing in TIF TIF financings throughout the state. There are examples in neighboring communities, not just in Indianapolis, but throughout northern Indiana. Our firm has worked on several of these types of financings, and it is exactly as Caleb mentioned. There's no levy responsibility for the city, there's no obligation by the city. The bonds are paid entirely by developer produced project TIF. Happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Seeing that there's no more questions, I'm going to have to do my best to try to,
Okay.
okay, but if you could hold your question to the 7 o'clock meeting, or if you can ask that question, we can get a quick response and I can move to the public hearing.
Ms. White, we,
Mhm.
with the other things on our agenda is only organizational meetings.
So we have another,
Yeah, I know, one
Bill.
more. Yeah, one more
Mhm.
bill.
mhm.
So we'll be done pretty fast.
Well, is the chair of the zoning committee present? I can see if I can
Vice
get some additional time.
Yes, Councilwoman White, I'm
Mhm.
happy to cede anytime that you'd like from zoning and annexation. It's just an organizational meeting.
Okay, so I'm gonna at least ask for 10 minutes and then we'll move forward. Thank you so much for that. Council President Lee?
Yes.
Mhm.
Caleb, with the parking garage being 398 and underneath the building, how much of that will be available for patrons? Or how will that, will it be open for the public to be able to use when they're visiting downtown or Howard Park, or would it be more private, or is it paid, or what would it be?
So the garage itself would be for the use of the tenants at the development and then for Crow employee parking. So there would be reserved spaces, but I'll let the JCR team expound on that.
Yeah, hi, Chandler Sturgis, representing JCR at 805 City Center Drive in Carmel, Indiana. Pro is dedicated 65 spaces, which is essentially the first level of that garage. It is a 4-story garage, and the remainder would be for resident use. Street parking that we build along the site, of course, would be public use.
Thank you.
I have a
Councilwoman
question.
Gooden Rogers?
Yes, I would like to know, how much, how many of our people will be working on this project? Who's doing this project? I mean, do you have I guess what I want to know, do you have your own crew? Are you gonna hire some, IBW? I mean, right here in the city, are we gonna be using some of the city people? Union? I'm looking for a lot of diversity when I vote for this, and then when I walk past this beautiful structure being built, I would like to see a lot of diversity there. So can you elaborate, please?
Yeah. So JCR, we have a project agreement with the city, lines out a lot of the pieces of the TIF here, but one commitment is that we are to make best efforts to use local labor in that. We've actually already been in contact with the laborers union on this for when we're ready to bid it out. We have not bid it out. JC Hart Company is also a general contractor. So we will not perform the actual labor of the job, but will manage the project from the construction side. But yeah, it's actually beneficial to us to use as much local labor as possible, just given they're not driving distance.
Thank
So-
you.
Seeing there's no more questions, we go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Bill 25-12?
I do not see any members of the public or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Okay, I'll take it back to the committee members. Is there a motion that you would like to make regarding Bill 25-12?
I make the motion that 2512 go to the full council with favorable recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Clerk Toronto, will you please call the roll?
Committee Member Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner.
Aye.
4 ayes.
This bill will be sent to the council with a favorable recommendation. Well, now, thank you so much. We see you at 7 p.m. And we'll now go to Bill 2513, And we thank you for your assistance, as also for waiting until we can get to this bill. This is a confirming resolution. Thank you for your patience. Will you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, Joseph Molnar, Assistant Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Before you today is a confirming resolution for real property tax abatement located at 225 and 229 South Michigan Street in this old Center City Place building. This being a confirming resolution, you have seen this tax abatement before, so I will be a little briefer this time. The building was formerly known as the Grand Leader Building, and this is the facade that we believe is actually under the facade that was slapped on in the 1960s. One of the goals of the redevelopment is to expose and renovate and restore this beautiful stonework facade, as well as restore the much more windows and make the building a little more lively to the street. The property is located in the heart of downtown, just north of Dainty Maid Food Hall, and the developers of this property are the current owners of Dainty Maid as well. RSBG Global Consulting is the current owner. However, Benjamin and Christina Miller will be the ones taking on possession and doing the work, and rehabilitating this long vacant building. Like I said, they are the owners and were the developers of the Dainty Maid building to the south. The building is approximately 38,000 square feet and was constructed in the earliest 20th century and eventually became known as the Grand Leader Building. Over time, it was renovated into a variety of retail and office uses, but has been vacant for at least the last decade. The plan for the redevelopment is restaurant spaces on the ground floor with a possible brewery to anchor that ground floor, and then the top two floors being a hotel, as well as, like I said, restoring that original stone facade, with a total investment a little over $5,825,000. With new employees estimated to be approximately 11, full-time employees with an estimated payroll of just north of $800,000 once the project is complete. The taxes that are being paid currently now as a vacant building are not very high. The annual taxes are around $8,400. But the taxes estimated at the end of the project are a little over $116,000. So a dramatic increase in the amount of property taxes at the end of the project. Over the life of the abatement, you'd see about $611,000 abated, but $322,000 paid. I note that is still significantly more paid than if there was no abatement and there was no project. After 10 years, it would be estimated that about $555,000 tax dollars would be paid, so over $500,000. But without the project and without the abatement, only about $84,000. This is a rendering of what the building with the Dainty Maid building to the left would look like. Like I said, with that restored stone facade and opening up the windows on all three floors. And here's another artistic interpretation of that. Christina Miller, representing the developer, is online as well, and she'll be in person tonight if she would like to add anything.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Christina Miller on behalf of 225 and 229 South Michigan Street. I don't have anything to add at this point, but I am open to any questions that you might have.
Committee members, any questions? Council members? Seeing none, at this time, we'll go to the public hearing. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Bill 25-13?
I do not see any members from the public in person or online that wishes to speak in favor.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Committee members would like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 25-13.
Make a motion to send 2513 forward with a favorable recommendation.
Second. We have a motion and it's been seconded. Clerk Toronto, will you please call the roll?
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. Bill 25-13 will be sent to the council with a favorable recommendation. Would like to thank the Zoning Annexation Committee for giving us some additional time. The Community Investment Committee is now adjourned.
Thank you, Councilmember White.
Thank you as well.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Zoning and Annexation Committee. In the absence of Chair Dr. Oliver Davis, I will be presiding. What is currently being passed around is the 2024 annual report of the Zoning and Annexation Committee. Clerk Torado, would you be able to take roll, please?
Committee Chair Dr. Davis is excused. Committee Vice Chair Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Committee Member McBride, Committee Member Warner,
Present.
Committee Member White,
Present.
Citizen Member Henry Davis Jr.,
Present.
Citizen Member Stacy Odom.
Present.
5 present, and we have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Clerk Torado, and members who were able to make it today. This is our organizational meeting, so it'll be brief. I'd just like to read the charge for the committee. Zoning and Annexation Committee oversees the activities related to the Board of Zoning Appeals, recommendations from the Area Plan Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as all related matters addressing annexation and zoning. Those present have received a copy of the 2024 annual report of the committee, and it will also be sent to the rest of the members of council and those members online. It will be sent via email from the clerk's office. Since the chair is not here, we'll just wait for any other business or questions that he'd like to ask for another convening of the committee. Unless there are any questions of the Zoning and Annexation Committee members, I will adjourn. Is there any questions? Thank you so much. Zoning and Annexation
Yes.
is. Yes, Council, Mr. Davis.
You're right, yeah. Good afternoon. Look, has there ever been a review of zoning laws over the last, let's say, 20 years for the city of South Bend and how it has supported growth or how it has not supported growth or the perceived growth that was the target?
Thanks for your question, Mr. Davis. I'll go ahead and refer that to the chair of the committee, Dr. Oliver Davis, for follow-up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? With that, I will adjourn the Zoning and Annexation organizational meeting for tonight. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call the Community Relations Committee organization for organizational meeting together. The 2024 I want to say report. Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Committee Member Niskoski,
Present.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Present.
Vice Chair White,
Present.
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers.
Present.
4 ayes, we have a quorum.
Okay, then at this time, this meeting is now been called to order. This is the 2025 Community Relations Committee organizational meeting. Duties of this committee is the Community Relations Committee oversees the various activities of the Office of Community Affairs and the relationships and ongoing communications with the public and private entities operating within the city of South Bend. The chairperson of the Community Relations Committee shall schedule not less than 2 committee meetings each calendar year, inviting superintendent, school trustees of the South Bend Community School Corporation Board of Trustees, their committees, or designated representatives and other non-public school officials operating within the city of South Bend to discuss school community relations. The chairperson may schedule any additional meetings in a calendar year on school and community relationship as he or she deems appropriate. The chairperson shall additionally schedule committee meetings with the Residential Neighborhood Committee to receive and discuss information from the Community Campus Advisory Coalition and all city agencies, offices, and departments involved within public safety regulations as further addressed in Section 1460 of the South Bend Municipal Code. On this committee, there is 2 citizen members. Members of this committee shall be Ophelia Gooden Rogers, chairperson, Karen L. White, vice president, Sherry Bolden Simpson, member, and Sheila Nagowski, member. At this time, is there any questions? Then this organizational meeting is adjourned.
I would like to call the Residential Neighborhoods Committee to order. Clerk Geraldo, would you please give up the roll call?
Councilmember McBride. Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Present.
Committee Vice Chair Niskoski.
Present.
Committee Chair White.
Present.
3 ayes, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. The mission of the Residential Neighborhoods Committee is that we oversee the various activities and issues related to neighborhood development and enhancement. I did send to the committee members prior to the organizational meeting, asking them to identify project goals and concerns that they would like to advance for the 2025 year. The 2024 committee report was completed as requested, and I'll make sure that all committee members will receive a copy of that committee report. I would like for us, as we do move forward as a committee, to become very much involved in the community and, working with our citizens, but also sharing information that will have a direct impact on them as we move forward. So we will have I will schedule a meeting with the Residential Neighborhoods Committee so that we can do more planning and be able to move forward as quickly as possible. Are there any questions or comments that any members of the Residential Committee would like to make at this time? We do have our citizens members, and they will be joining us shortly as well. Seeing no comments, the Residential Neighborhood Committee stands adjourned.
All right, well, thank you all for our great committee meetings today. Just to kind of go back over, and this is our informal, in Community Investment Bill 2509 goes to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Bill 25-10 goes to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Bill 2511 goes to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Bill 25-12 will go to the full council with a favorable recommendation. And Bill 25-13 will go to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Tonight, we will have invocation from Pastor Mark Lance from Christian Center Church. Of course, a pledge of allegiance. We will have reports from the subcommittee on minutes for January 27th, 2025. Special business is a great night. Our 2025 Youth Advisory Council will be sworn in. And then we'll be joined by Mayor James Mueller, and he shall provide a statement of finances and a general condition of the city in his annual address. There'll be no reports from city offices. There'll be no committee of the whole or bills on third reading. We'll go straight into resolutions, and we'll go through those. Then we have bills on first reading and unfinished business, new business, privilege of the floor, and then we will adjourn. Yes, and we will be joining our youth council members as their families will be here. There'll be dinner afterwards. So thank you, everyone, for your service and time, and we look forward to a great meeting tonight. We're joined.